Hello there and welcome to Interviewing and Counseling Class 1. Yay! Here we are on our 5-week adventure. And are you feeling a little bit stressed? That's our first topic is for this week. Here is stress and dealing with it. And let me just kind of offer a quick test for you to try to see your level of stress. It's a way of self-evaluating. It's really simple. It's a really simple stress test for you. All you have to do is, I'm going to show you a picture. And this picture is going to be of two dolphins jumping out of the water. All you have to do is tell me if you see any differences between the two dolphins. Okay, and then the amount of differences you see will kind of indicate the level of stress. So more differences equals higher stress. And if you see them as identical, then less stress. Okay, so you ready? So how many differences do you see of these two dolphins jumping out of the water? So it's obviously just a joke, but nonetheless, it still just kind of gets the point across that everybody has stress, and stress in itself is actually a good thing because stress can simply be defined as a challenge. Okay, stress is not an evil thing. It's not an inappropriate thing. It's not even a sinful thing. Even Jesus had stress and had lots of it to the point that he even went to pray over and over and over again. In fact, a lot of times stress is simply trying to recognize that there is something important to you that is out of your control. Or stress is about bracing to endure some impending doom that you know you can't get away from. Like when Jesus was going to the cross. It's not something he could get away from. Granted, he wanted to. He begged the Father to let the cup pass from him. Nonetheless, he said, your will be done, Lord, not my will. And he had to embrace that impending doom. And it was not a sin that he was dealing with that stress. It was just, that was that stress. It was that impending doom. And so stress just means that something is happening in your life and that it is moving forward, albeit at a pace you probably don't appreciate. The question is not how do we get rid of stress, because a life without stress is, well, boring. The question is how do you handle stress the best, and how do you avoid particularly burnout? And burnout's one of those really big issues. And to help kind of prepare for understanding burnout, here's a question to ponder. For your area of service or work or what have you, what does success look like? So if you're a janitor, what does success look like? If you're a Sunday school teacher, what does success look like? If you're a pastor or a counselor or a human resource representative or a burger flipper, whatever it is, for your area of work or service, what does success look like? In other words, what results are you looking for? Okay, so I want you to kind of ponder that and maybe take a moment, grab a paper and pen and write down what you're looking for, whether it's a clean environment or students growing and maturing or clients becoming healthy or a budget being balanced. Whatever the case is, write down what success looks like. So pause the video and do that just for about a minute or 3. Hopefully you actually did that and that you're not just waiting during that dead silence going, when is he going to talk again? So here's where we're going to be going next. Okay, so now this was the question for your area of service. What does success look like? What results are you looking for? I want you to notice this definition of burnout. Check this out. Burnout, as defined by Dr. J.D. Guy, says this: a state of fatigue or frustration resulting from devotion to a way of life or a relationship that has failed to produce the expected reward. Okay, so a state of fatigue or frustration resulting from devotion, a lifestyle, if you will, a goal that is not producing what you expected. So whatever you define as success, burnout would be when those elements of success do not happen. Your goal is for people to grow and mature, and they don't. Your goal is to balance a budget, and it doesn't. Your goal is to get a place clean, and it's not. And whatever your desired reward is, doesn't happen. And for pastors, as an example, there is like a major burnout rate with pastors because they have a definition of success that leads to that burnout. The success might be, I want my congregation to be a certain level of healthiness, or I want them to understand the Bible better, or I want them to grow closer to Jesus, and then it doesn't happen. And so what happens when burnout begins setting in, when whatever that definition of success you wrote down does not happen, different things begin happening in your life. For example, you might noticing, if you're having burnout creeping into your life, that you are starting to react quickly to situations and often out of self-interest. And that's what happens when people start getting burned out, is they react quickly, they don't stop and think, they speak quickly, like they don't stop and think and reason things through. They just, boom, they have an answer. Boom, they have an answer. Boom, they're doing something, and usually out of self-interest. So they're not sacrificing themselves to help others flourish. They're acting more selfish and arrogantly rather than meekly or humbly and with an attitude of sacrifice. So they tend to react out of that self-interest. And then secondly, care for others, which makes sense, begins to diminish. So that is where an individual, if they're getting burned out, they're going to be about trying to help themselves feel better. And they're not going to take time with other people's problems. They're not going to have the patience to try to deal with other people because they're all inward turn because of their burnout. So then the question comes, how do we begin to reduce that burnout and maybe even prevent it from creeping in the first place? Let me just share a couple of quick ideas. This is not an exhaustive list, but just to kind of get you started along this road. So first is get spiritual strength. And it is amazing how many people will not read their Bible on a regular basis until calamity strikes. That's like being a boxer in a ring and waiting till the bell dings for your match before you start preparing and training. And you're just going to get the tar beat out of you. So you got to get spiritual strength in advance. The book of Proverbs says that wisdom laughs at those who seek it at the time of calamity, because you need to have the wisdom in advance, like preparing for a match or preparing for a sport event. A second thing to work on is getting support from others. That means actually allowing yourself to be vulnerable and to really begin to delegate and allow others to support you within your life, not just complaining about your problems, not that at all. It's more of, here is what I'm dealing with. Can you help? Can you give me wisdom? Can you give me guidance? Can you give me advice? And then not to just see every negative reason why their advice doesn't work, but to hear it, receive it. Doesn't mean you have to follow it. You might be able to take multiple levels of advice and get the strengths from all of them and merge them together. Who knows? But the point is to get that support from others and don't criticize it when you receive it. And then evaluate your drive to achieve. It could be your definition of success is kind of inappropriate. It could be that you are defining your level of success upon the reaction of another person. And if that's the case, you're going to find burnout over and over again because you can't force other people to respond a certain way. You can't force people to change. You can't force people to be appreciative. You can't force people to recognize you. You can't force people to clean or to not clean. So you can't let your definition be based upon the actions and attitudes of another individual. It makes it really difficult, and you're going to have burnout guaranteed. Because of that, that is why the helping professions like counselors, pastors, nurses have the highest rate of burnout of all professions in the United States, because they tend to define their success based upon the health of another individual, and you can't guarantee another individual's behaviors or outcome. So therefore, burnout becomes a natural reaction to those work environments, to those forms of employment. So it is very important to reevaluate your drive to achieve, reevaluate your definition of success. And in so doing, also take time off. And time off is not, I'm going to take 2 days off from work, and then I'm going to bust my butt doing stuff around the house. That's just taking time off from one work to do another work. I mean, actually be able to take time off. And if you go on a vacation, don't plan it. Don't plan what you're doing on your vacation to the nth degree. Many people, they go on vacation, then they have to come from vacation and need another vacation. So it's an amazing experience to go on vacation and have nothing to do, nothing planned. Walk around the city and decide, you want to go to a museum? It's right here. Sure, why not? Okay, to have that type of flexibility, that you don't have a schedule to keep, that you don't have to do things a certain way or get done at a certain time in order to make it at a certain event. So just take the time off and let it be unscheduled. Don't schedule what that time off looks like. And then improve your skills. Whatever you're doing at your job, get books on your weaknesses. A lot of people tend to read books that they're interested in, not books where they are horrible at. So find books that will teach you skills and train you skills. Get teachers, mentors, coaches, whatever you need to improve your weak skills. Evaluate yourself. Are you bad with administration? Are you bad with setting visions? Are you bad with self-discipline or control? Are you bad with follow-through? Great start, bad follow-through. Are you bad with coming up with ideas? Whatever it is, find ways to improve those skills. Okay, and then 6, expect discouragement. It's going to happen. There's a hymn, churches love it. It's what a friend we have in Jesus. And in one of the verses, it says, we should never be discouraged. Baloney. Expect it. We live in a fallen, twisted, goofed up, messed up world. We live in a world where there's Twilight and turtleneck sweaters and boy bands. Okay, we live in a very messed up world, and we can expect discouragement, expect insults, expect opposition. We just can't expire because of them. So we have to expect it. So expect a discouragement. And then challenge negative self-talk. Whenever you say anything that you can't do it, you don't want to do it, you're not good enough to do it, whatever that negative self-talk is, that talk that you have within your mind, that thought process that you have going on that is defeating, limited, try to challenge that and ask yourself, okay, what are the solutions? Are my expectations too high, or are there ways to get around this? Can I still achieve these goals, or do I need to change my goals? Just kind of challenge that thought process that you have going on there. And then lastly, question your definition of success. Already mentioned this earlier. It is worth a repeat. Question your definition of success. If it's based on someone else, burnout is guaranteed to come into your life. And so hopefully this is a quick, short, little help that will, well, in a sense, guide you toward a healthier 5 weeks of this class. Have a good time, and we'll see you online.